What does it take to know something? How do you know you know? With an increased vigilance campaign targeting misinformation in the public space and however that affects our free speech in the future, we might find some value in honestly knowing what we really know. Let's say we live in a fictional country of Calandria and know that another country, let's call it Novara, will develop nuclear weapons within a year. We based our knowledge on what we've read about the situation in and around Novara. Let's say that Novara successfully develops nuclear weapons within a year. Can we say that we knew this? Can we claim that we had knowledge? You may claim we did based on our evidence. Still, epistemology, the theory of knowledge, would question if whether having justified true belief is sufficient for knowledge. This insight might seem a bit metaphysical and abstract. Still, it's an epistemological problem that can have practical implications in discourse and decision making. It encourages us to critically examine our beliefs and question justification processes. Because we might be wrong even when we're correct. It's a bit confusing, so to understand this, let's look at propositional knowledge. Propositional knowledge is knowledge of facts. It's something we express in declarative sentences or propositions. For example, we know that 1 plus 2 equals 3. We also know that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we know that Manila is the capital of the Philippines. But how do we get to this proposition? The traditional analysis of knowledge, which we can trace back to Plato, states that a subject S, you, your friend, or anyone, knows that a proposition, P, if and only if P is true, S believes that P, and S is justified in believing that P. This analysis is often described as the JTB analysis, where JTB stands for justified true belief. Imagine Alina has been home the whole day. She walks by her analog clock in the kitchen and sees that it's 3 o'clock. According to the JTB approach, Alina has knowledge about the time if and only if the statement is true, that is, that the time is actually 3. Alina believes that it's 3 o'clock, and Alina is justified in believing the time is 3. She has evidence. The clock is telling her it's 3 o'clock, and other people pass by and confirm it, etc. That sounds pretty reasonable, right? We have a reasonable explanation of knowledge, and this video could have ended here. But while it is a good starting point, there is a twist to this whole JTB analysis that can throw its usefulness out the window, even when we think we know something. By the way, if you're enjoying this type of content, make sure to subscribe to this channel. And if you want to support the channel and see quality improvement, you're more than welcome to buy me a coffee via Coffee. Link is in the description. So back to the topic. You see, although we can agree that knowledge relies on all 3 elements of the justified true belief analysis, they are insufficient to claim knowledge. Philosopher Edmund Gettier depicted this with 2 cases in his 1963 publication, Is Justified True Belief Knowledge? It's a 3-page article, so I guess you have no excuse for avoiding the read if you're interested in epistemology and knowledge. I'll link it below. With these 2 cases, Gettier concludes that you can fulfill the 3 elements of JTB, justified true belief, but still lack knowledge. How does this work? So, for the sake of the argument, let's go back to Alina's knowledge about the time of the day, and then later to really drill in the notion, we'll return to our more impactful yet scary scenario in Novara and Calandria. Alina knows that it's 3 o'clock. She has fulfilled all 3 requirements of the JTB analysis. It's 3 o'clock, she believes it, and she's justified to believe so. But now, suppose that her kitchen clock, unbeknownst to her, had been broken and stuck at 3 o'clock the whole time. She just happens to have passed the kitchen clock at 3 o'clock. In this case, we cannot really claim that Alina truly knows the time, even after having a justified true belief. She was just lucky that her observed time and the real time coincided. We call this epistemic luck. Now, The Gettier problem is not limited to trivial or everyday examples. It has implications for broader domains, including science and society. If we return to the scene in Novara and Calandria, we have a situation where we, the Calandrians, believe that Novara will develop nuclear weapons soon, within a year. We rely on our internal news and comments about Novara's despotic regime, Novara's know-how and resources, and the rhetoric towards countries like ours. And the truth is that Novara successfully develops nuclear weapons within a year. But unbeknownst to us, the state of Calandria, or let's say an ally of Calandria, has been increasing its threat towards Novara lately, both verbally and through military actions and invasions. Novara had no intentions of developing nuclear weapons until recently, when the threat became existential. So our beliefs, the Calandrians' beliefs about Novara developing nuclear weapons, is justified based on our internal news and historical patterns. However, the truth is influenced by a separate factor, which is the escalating threats from Calandria. This disconnect between justification and knowledge exemplifies the essence of the Gettier problem. This type of scenario matters because we often encounter them. We may provide the correct conclusions even though it was really epistemic luck that made our beliefs true. If that's the case, what is the lesson learned? This issue also relates to a blind belief in inductive reasoning when we strictly base our decisions on previous experiences. I talk about this in an earlier video which I'll link below. Sometimes we think we have it all figured out. So, how do we solve the Gettier problem? Some epistemologists have proposed adding or modifying conditions to the JTB analysis. One example is the no false lemmas analysis. With the no false lemmas analysis, we add a condition to the JTB. The justified true belief cannot be inferred from any false beliefs or lemmas. More specifically, S's believe that P is not inferred from any falsehood. So, the no false lemma approach successfully solves the case of Alina and her kitchen clock. Alina doesn't know the time of the day because she mistakenly believes that the clock still works, making it a false lemma. But the no false lemmas analysis cannot solve all the issues of JTB. One famous example tells us of a man who from a park bench sees a dog in a field. He believes that there is a dog in the field. But suppose now that the man is not actually observing a dog, but a new technological robot dog, which is almost indistinguishable from a real dog. In other words, his assumption that there is a dog in the field is incorrect. But let's further imagine that, unbeknownst to the man, a real dog happens to be hidden in the same field, close by the robot dog. So the man's belief turned out to be correct. A dog is in the field. Contrary to Alina's clock story where the subject explicitly believes the clock is working correctly, the man on the park bench doesn't form his belief based on a false lemma. He doesn't explicitly think this is a real dog about the robot dog. He simply sees something that looks like a dog and forms a belief that there is a dog in the field. So that's the no false lemmas analysis. But there are many other examples of attempts to resolve the Gettier problems, such as adding different conditions. Unfortunately, as with the no false lemmas analysis, none of these alternative suggestions have managed to withstand counterexamples. So does that mean that the Gettier problem is unresolved? Yeah. And that might seem like a bummer, but this ignorance also offers us other answers. On the one hand, the failure to formulate a solid approach to understanding knowledge highlights our susceptibility to epistemic luck and the subjectivity of knowledge in general. Knowing this can keep us in a humble and dynamic relationship with true knowledge. Why do we believe what we do? How do we justify it? And if our beliefs were justifiably true, but based on falsehoods, would we openly admit our lack of knowledge? Do we keep our fallibilities in mind for future events? For example, would you say, "Oh, I guess I must take robot dogs into account now," or "I guess Calandria might be a significant threat to nuclear disarmament. And then on the other hand, it gives us a perspective into the complexity of falsehoods, or let's say misinformation. How do we know that our beliefs carry specific falsehood, especially when forming our beliefs? Knowing that many of our current true beliefs derive from falsehood, for some falsehoods at least, and that these beliefs remain in our way of thinking, is it realistic to remove these from public discussions or even silence them? It makes you think about our ability to reliably identify and stigmatize information, right? Anyway, here's a video on knowing whether you're unconsciously incompetent. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up below and subscribe. We discuss topics on improving critical thinking, independent thinking, and communication. So until next time, peace.